Welcome to Quackalope. Thank you for being here. I'm exploring doing a series like this every other Sunday where I work back through the Kickstarter projects that we've been involved in, that we've covered, or that I'm backing personally, which you can track on Shelf or Sell. And I'm just going to tell you my gut check. Like, no holds barred, the best and worst reason that I, at the moment, can come up with for you to back a project. Now, this is meant to be more of a conversational style of video. If people ask it, I might go into more specifics or do a little bit more research, like prep the video and stuff. But this is the test run. This is me sitting down. I've got a glass of milk here. It snowed outside last night. And I thought I'd just chat with you and just break it down. Like we're talking with a bunch of friends sitting beside us. So I've got my personal projects that I'm currently backing, some of which are at $1 just so I have them marked here and I can keep tabs on them and get updates and stuff throughout the course of the campaign. And then I'm going to swing over to the channel, look at the last 2 weeks of videos, see if there's anything that I might have overlooked, games that are upcoming or things that are over on like GameFound or something like that. And yeah, so let's talk about crowdfunding. Now, in front of me is the Dark Quarter, which is going to go into one of the two best reasons not to back anything at the moment, which is just because there's always something new coming out. I mean, if you're currently in the Kickstarter hype train, you're consuming all the content that is around this industry, please understand that most people in this hobby get into it for like a 6-month period where they back everything that comes out. And I don't know that that's the healthiest way to approach it. I think the best thing would be to analyze and stay in the hobby space for years and back the projects that are right for you. But that's typically not what happens. Typically, people get consumed with the idea of what you want and what you can't have yet. And there's a ton of great games, and there's a ton of good games coming out all the time. So reel yourself back a little bit, take a deep breath in, and don't back everything just because it's pretty. Try to do the research and see if it's going to be right for you, right? Like, there's a lot of reasons why the Dark Quarter could be right or wrong for you, and it just depends on how you approach games and what you enjoy. Now, the best reason to be backing Kickstarters as a whole is it's a pretty healthy habit overall. If you have the finances to actually sustain it and you're not going into debt in the process, this is a hobby that brings people together, that gives you a lot of great experiences. It's fantastic to get things in the mail. It feels really good, and hopefully you're able to get them to the table after they arrive as well. But along with that, a lot of the games that you're backing are going to hold their value, especially if you sell them within the first little bit of them coming in. And so it's not a big risk as long as you're purposeful with the way that you approach it. So let's take a look here. And I am filming this, by the way, on the day that you're watching. And I guess I'll start with the stuff that has as little time left as possible. So we'll start with Taiwai Kunu, exclusive deluxe edition. This is, I don't want to describe the games too much, but I will filter through the page a little bit for you here. It's kind of like Minesweeper on steroids. This is going to be a game that you're trying to kind of pattern match and build out a quilt and solve this puzzle of what might be in the space in front of you as you play. Best reason to back this game is that right now it's underrated and insanely fun. The reviewers that have had a chance to play this have been surprised by it and have really, really enjoyed the approach to the game. I don't know of another game that does something quite the same as Taiwai Kunu does. It used to be called Pachacuna or Pachamama. And I think that's a good reason to back it. I mean, I myself have considered backing this at a higher level with multiple pledges just to have extra copies to offer to Patreon or to do giveaways with, or to have to sell when it actually comes in, because this is just a fantastic game, and I think it's worth supporting the publisher, and I think it's worth getting it into your collection. Best reason not to back it, it's a little fiddly, but is that the best reason not to back it? See, this is where the challenge comes in. I don't want to go through a lot of little processes. If I was going to tell you not to back this game, it would be probably because the pattern laying and kind of tile laying approach to the game is really interesting. However, it does lead to potentially knowing some of the solutions. And so you're always going to want to play a new one. And I think you can get, 25, 30 games in, and you probably won't remember the game that you first played, but kind of similar to Minesweeper. If you were always presented with the same style of puzzle time and time again, how much differential can you get without kind of a computer algorithm helping you along the way? that would be my biggest challenge to this game. I think if you get it, you're probably going to have some really great and unique experiences, but will that hold up? The experiences can sometimes feel similar from session to session, and once you play it enough, you will probably start seeing some of the same reoccurring themes, or you'll see the same reoccurring mission, and you might have a little bit of an advantage on other players. So, keep that in mind. Stepping back away from this one, let's talk about League of Dungeoneers. I don't have anything to say about this. I don't know we haven't covered this project. This isn't one that we did. It's one that I'm considering backing, but I don't know if I should or not. Same thing with Solar 175. I have no outside information beyond what you all have. It's one that I'm considering backing, but I'm not sure. Motor City. We actually didn't cover this on the channel, but we did play it in person. Best reason to back Motor City for me. If you like roll and writes and you like Fleet the Dice game or Three Sisters, I think this fits into that trifecta really well. I think it supports that kind of escalating dice kind of selection system that they've already developed, and I think the three of them go on the shelf in a very natural way. The best reason not to back this game would honestly be the fact that, for me, this is my least favorite. Now, that doesn't mean that it'll be the case for you, but the combination of theme, being on a racetrack, driving around the city, doesn't appeal to me as much as something like Three Sisters or Fleet does. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know that the experience here is vastly different from the experience in those other two games. So, if you're going to play all three of them, fantastic. But if you're probably only going to get one or two off the shelf repeatedly, I personally would go with one of those that are already available, that you could already get your hands on. Malia. This is something that we're hoping to have gameplay of here in the next day or two. I know there's only 4 days left on the campaign, so we're trying to get that recorded. We've had a guest here all week. Best reasons to back Malia. This is going to be a game where it takes the dungeon crawler trope and really experiments with it, giving you riddles and puzzles and crazy progression and really cool character upgrades and combinations of weapon and gear and items that you can get that is just really rewarding. If you love diving into a campaign-style game, I think Malia is going to be one of the next big ones that you should be paying attention to. Best reason not to back it? Well, this is full of riddles and clues and rewards you taking that extra little moment to look at the artwork on a card or dive in. If what you're looking for is sort of a straightforward dungeon crawl, where you can smash enemies and sit down for a single play session and really not have to continue coming back to it, I think Malia is going to demand your attention a little bit more than some of those others. Also, cleanup and breakdown, depending on how they actually build out the board, may not be so simple. So this is a campaign you'll want to sit down onto a table and dedicate some time to. If you don't think you're going to be able to do that, I'll be honest, I don't think you're going to get the best experience out of the game unless you can. So, don't fool yourself. Are you going to be able to play it? And if so, awesome, grab it. But if not, I might hold off, wait for a reprint or another campaign, or explore some of the larger dungeon crawls you already have available and late back it or something along those lines. There's a lot here, and there's a lot of good here, but a lot comes with the reality that I still have Gloomhaven over on the shelf. It's #1 game on BGG of all time, and I have yet to play through that entire campaign. You should be asking yourself those same questions when you decide to back something like Malia, because I've definitely been there before, and I've definitely not gotten stuff to the table. I have Brandon Sanderson's books here, something I'm considering backing. I think the decision I'm going to make is I am going to back them, but I'm going to make videos of them here. I started listening to the Stormlight Archives. I'm enjoying it so far, but I do want to get a few books finished. I've had a lot of great recommendations from people. Monster Pit, I have no context on. Habitats 9 Lives and Basket Boss, I'm personally backing. I don't have much context on, outside of the fact that Board Game Tables has made a ton of games that are very good. But the caveat to that is some of those games are also very good, but also not right for me. I'm willing to take the risk on these 3 titles, because they're kind of putting them out. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not convinced that something like Basket Boss is going to be right for me. It doesn't really fit my theme. I don't really love the art style, but Habitats looks very cool, and 9 Lives is kind of there in the middle. I've been surprised consistently, but yeah, I'm curious to see what comes out. Let's see what Alex said here. Pick of the week, board game tables have done a phenomenal job of packaging games. They are so easy to dive into, just so easy to pull out and play. Cool. Yeah, I think if you wanna go with a publisher's reputation, this is a sure bet. If you don't want to take a gamble on titles, you know, and have the risk that some of them might not be right for you, you know, you can wait. They're always going to be available. Board game tables, deluxeified components, maybe not. I'm not sure. Board game tables always has their games readily available at market. Aries Expedition, Discovery, Founders, and Crisis. Best reason to back this is it is a substantial improvement to the core Aries Expedition, Terraforming Mars Aries Expedition game. It introduces asymmetric cards, introduces a cooperative mode that's fantastic, and reinvents the solo mode a little bit in a really nice way. Best reason not to back this, I would say, is that this will be available at retail. Now, it says that it's not going to retail. Let's be honest, this is a Terraforming Mars product. I know it's an expansion, which means it might not be in your big box like stores like Target. But from my read of this, you know, from my read of this will at least be available in your local game store. It'll be available at conventions. It'll probably be available on Amazon through Stronghold Games direct store. I just don't think you need to chase the buck on this one. You'll probably be able to get it at a better price down the road. Now, a better price could be, you know, $10, $15 off the top. But, you know, along with that, it gets closer to, I suppose if that's not the best reason, let's try a different worst reason not to back this. It brings things closer to Terraforming Mars without still being Terraforming Mars. So, do you play Aries Expedition? That question is a no. Don't get this to start with. If the question is a yes, then how do you play it and how do you approach it? This is introducing some good intermingling with the players, but it also introduces a cooperative mode and a little bit more complexity. Do you think that's going to be something you're going to mix into your game? Yeah. Tidal Blades. We did a lot of coverage on Tidal Blades. Really, really enjoying this one. Very excited to see it launch. Best reason to get Tidal Blades and the RPG, but I'll stick with the board game here in this conversation. Best reason to get Tidal Blades, in my opinion, is just going to be how immersive and fun this game is. The tableau sort of programming approach with different modifiers like status effects, health, damage, debuffs, and buffs affecting the board where you're actually playing cards here. That's really fun, and it's something that I haven't seen a dungeon crawler do. Certainly not in the way and to the level of depth that Tidal Blades is doing it. I think it is a really novel approach to this genre, and you combine that with the incredible artwork, immersive theme, and sort of different theme, being here on the reef. It's not your classic dungeon crawler approach. I think this is a surefire back for anyone that wants a approachable, really fun, and very unique dungeon crawl. Best reason not to back this. Well, so far, my read of it has been that it hasn't been as difficult or as hard as I would like it to be. And I'm going to be honest, like I would have liked to lose a few of the sessions that we were playing through, but we never really did, right? And balance tweaks and everything can adjust for that, but the question is this going to be more of a lightweight, sit down, have fun type of game? Or is this going to be a significant crawl? And with something like 25, 26 episodes total, you also are going to be facing the challenge of, will this be something that you clean through and then do replete plays of? Or is it one of those things where you sit down and you spend a good 20 to 25 hours playing, and then you kind of set it back on the shelf? Now, I'm going to be honest, most of us don't even play that far into a campaign, but if you are someone that deep dives into dungeon crawls, the depth of content here would be part of the conversation and the challenge level of that content to boot. So if I were you, I would be gauging two things. I'd be deciding if I want a unique dungeon crawl and if I like the idea behind the programming of cards, because I can attest that that's really fun and very unique. But then on the flip side, do I want something that's light and approachable, or do I want something I can really sink my teeth into? And I don't think this is going to be one as comparable to something like Malia, for instance, where you dedicate maybe 100 hours to gameplay and you really, really dive in. This is one where you sit down and you have a romp and you have fun and you read a story and you see adorable artwork. But I don't know that it's one that gives you all the depth that you might be expecting in every dungeon crawler you play. Backing up. Jurassic World. I don't know anything about Jurassic World. I'm considering backing it. I'm probably not going to on the campaign, although I probably do want to pick it up post-campaign. Tabaru. Let's talk about the bad karmas, and let's talk about Tabaru, the game system. So, biggest pro for the bad karmas is going to be the fact that, from my experience, the new boss that we just got a chance to demo was a lot of fun and variable and different from the original. I think the card play here is a joy to play. I like the fact that you can get constant updates and kind of get status modifiers as you explore it. And discovering the boss without having to read a whole slew of rules beforehand was a lot of fun. I'm really excited to check out these new bosses that they have and show down with them, right? Like set it on the board and not realize that a portal's gonna suck you in or that boulders are gonna move and shift, or the landscape's gonna change. It's like a big final boss in a video game where you learn the sequencing, you learn the puzzle throughout the course of the play. Best reason not to back the bad karma specifically? No, it's sort of a strategic approach. It's a straightforward approach to a big boss battler. And that's fun, but there's a lot of other boss battles out there that do arguably boss battling least different, if not better in some ways. This is a game that requires you to be dedicated to your phone, and sitting around a table poking and jibing at a phone, yeah, the board does have some presence and does encourage you to glance up and look at it, but I'll be honest, I spent more time studying my digital device than I did the table in front of me, and sometimes that takes away from the experience that you're looking to have when it comes to the gameplay. And like I said, it's sort of a one-stop shop. Like you're hopping in and you're fighting a boss, and then the next time you play, you're grabbing new characters and hopping in and fighting a boss. There's no overarching campaign, as I'm aware. At least if there is, then I don't know about it. There's no giant tie. It is sequence after sequence of boss fighting, which can be a blast, but also might not be what you're looking for. Beyond that, let's talk about the Tabaru system as a core. The Tabaru system, the best reason to back it is because it's a console system with a lot of games coming out on it, and the first time you invest in it, you're going to be the first person into market to have this, which means when new titles come, you won't have to wait for the technology to get to you. Instead, if you want to be playing Vampire the Masquerade on the Tabaru system, just back it at the base components, and they'll probably be able to get it to you earlier than any of the other people who are looking for it. If you're buying the system with the game, I'm sure it's going to be more complicated, and shipping is going to take more time. Along with that, you'll be able to support the system, and you'll be able to learn the system throughout the process of development. It always takes a wave of people to be invested in something and encouraging something for it to come to market. So if you're excited about the premise of a digital board game or a digitized game that does a hybrid of on the table and a digital component, this is where you want to stop. It's the best in the business at the moment. But the reason not to back this is it's kind of simple in its approach, and I'm curious to see how it adapts, but right now it identifies where your pieces are on the board, can test to see if a dice has rolled a certain thing, and then it's dependent on the technology of the app, and apps are expensive to make. There's no guarantee that the Tabaru system will be adapted effectively and efficiently for every game that you're excited about, and some of them, depending on the success of this and other projects, may not even make it to market. Something like Vampire the Masquerade could be watching the success of the bad karmas and decide that there isn't enough market share out there for them to be investing $500,000 or however much it is into building an app. So that's a big question, and you are putting your money on the line. You're taking a risk to invest in new technology, and sometimes that pays off, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's sort of a price you have to gauge. Are you willing to lose $100 for hopefully something cool? Or do you want a more secure bet? You want to stick with the games that you already know have market value? I also have no sense of the resale value of this. It's going to be entirely dependent upon the concept of all the success and whether the games come out. So, gut check on both of those. Let's keep going down. Encyclopedia. We did a gameplay of Encyclopedia. What a blast of a game. Really lovely game. So, best reason to back Encyclopedia. The best reason to back Encyclopedia for me is just the chaos on the board. Let me explain that a little bit better. This is a tableau building, set collection, kind of worker placement or resource management game. It's a dice placement game, right? Those act as your workers. And the amount of player interaction with a ton of different zones that you're going to and a heavy thematic integration means that Encyclopedia does nearly everything well and nearly everything right. I mean, you can read Board Game Co's statement here. This is a game that just feels rewarding at every turn. I am multiple plays deep in this, and I'm still not even remotely bored yet. And that's just accurate. This game is fun, it is immersive. If you've enjoyed things like Wingspan, if you've enjoyed things like, or if you backed things like Earth, I think this is a game you should be paying attention to. I think this is a game you probably will really love. It's probably one of the best coming out from this publisher. And of course, you're going to be able to get access to like the extras, the specifics, help deluxify it, all that nonsense. Best reason not to back. It's a little messy, I'm going to be honest. As you're playing, you have a lot of different regions to go to, and skill and knowledge with the game is going to have a substantial differential in how you score victory points. There's so many different sources of scoring here, and the mess can be fun to play in, but it also can mean that this won't be right for your game group. You're taking dice from other players, you're filling up actions, you're taking cards, you're combining those cards into sets, and understanding that puzzle of how and when you need to press to score can be kind of complicated. So keep that in mind as you approach the game. I think this would be one that is maybe harder to get to the table than something like Wingspan would be. Well, I think they're comparable for the heavier gamer who enjoys it. I don't know that it's fair to say that everyone that loved Wingspan will naturally love Encyclopedia. I think it is messier. I think it is a little bit harder to get the flow and understand the puzzle of the game. Griffin Saddlebag, I know nothing about, and then everything else beyond that is successful. But let's swing over to my YouTube channel, Quackalope. And let's take a look at the last little pocket of videos just to see if there's anything that I have missed. We have Destinies, Marvel Champions, Mantis Falls, Earth Under Siege already closed, so we don't need to chat about that. Tidal Blades is here. Encyclopedia was recent. We had a big discussion about 18XX and why they're better. Tidal Blades was just here. The Bad Karmas. I think we've covered... Oh, the one thing that I don't think we've covered that is here is going to be Tamashii. I don't want to play this, but let's see here. Let's see if we can pull up the website. Tamashii board game. Tamashii is the new game from Awaken Realms. I have another gameplay coming out hopefully soon on this. We're currently working on that. I wanted to pull up the GameFound page specifically. So, best reason to back Tamashii. Well, it's really good programming. If you like those kind of slide puzzle style programming or the Candy Crush style programming, this does that in a kind of series of one-shot adventures. You're going to be popping onto a board, you're going to be hopping between different bodies, different types, different robots in this kind of sci-fi or post-apocalyptic sci-fi world. I'm trying to think of what that is called. It's not steampunk, it's cyberpunk, I think. With fantastic artwork, great production quality coming from the Awaken Realms team, and the gameplay is a lot of fun. It also plays in variable modes, solo, cooperative, and competitive. And I think every mode so far that I've experienced is compelling and worth diving into. Best reason not to back it, in my opinion, is just going to be... Best reason not to back Tamashii. It's challenging because I do feel like there's a lot of depth to the game that I haven't had a chance to explore, so it's a puzzle of what just haven't I seen versus what is the reality of the game state. Tamashii has so many different variable ways to play that you may find that there's modules that you just don't ever touch or don't ever dive into. And I think that might be a reasonable reason not to back. You're getting a lot of content, but you're also paying for all the content that you're getting. And when you dive into the game, you may love the solo mode or the competitive mode, but the game kind of encourages you to play through every single type of scenario and system. Along with that, the bag building and programming on your board is a lot of fun, but sometimes it does feel like you're repeating the same pattern over and over again. Go find a location, get a body, solve the puzzle, fight the crime, and it doesn't necessarily feel as asymmetric or variable as I might want, or as you might want, the more you dive into it. But I don't know that I have a better reason not to back it. I think the game is a lot of fun. Is it the best game that's came out from Awaken Realms yet? No, but it's interesting because it's unique in its own genre. I don't know of something that is directly competing with it, which makes it compelling to me. Either way, that's my kind of top of the line gut check. Anything else on Game Found that we should be talking about? I don't know anything about Oak. Nightmare Cathedral, hopefully we'll be covering. I'd love to cover Cyanide and Happiness, because I have no idea what they come out with, but they always come out with weird things. Great Wall reprint. Yeah. I think that's going to be the conversation. That's going to be the list. Let me know. Do you enjoy this kind of Sunday ramble? Or do you want it more specific, more precise? Is this content you'll never watch? We'll give it a few more Sundays and see. I'll see you in about 2 weeks.